Okay, so I want to open this video with a bit of an experiment. I want you all to close your eyes. No, I'm serious, close your eyes. There's not going to be anything on the screen, so don't even bother opening them, just close your eyes. Okay? Okay. Now picture something for me. I'm going to say a phrase, and I want you to blow out the first thing that pops into your head. Gaming heroine. Okay, you can open your eyes. Now when I said that, I'm sure there's a few names that may have popped into your head. Thoughts of a badass girl like Tifa from FF7, or maybe even Lara Croft, or maybe even Samus Aran, or maybe funny girls like Ann from Persona 5, or even nerdy girls like Futaba from Persona 5, or pure waifu material like Kasumi. I think I've been playing too much Persona. Point is, there's a lot of names out there that come to mind, but I'm willing to bet one name may have come up in a couple people's minds out there. One rather recent from a smaller franchise. She's the belly dancing, spell casting, half-genie, and all-hero gal. Yes, I'm talking about Shantae. Someone who hasn't had nearly as many games as the other girls, nor has been around as long, and yet has a huge following. Why is that? How is it that only after 20 years and 5 games, this woman has already become an icon of gaming? Well, that's what I intend to answer today, so take a seat and enjoy a dance as we cover the rising of the Djinn hero.
Rise and shine, don't wanna work, I'd rather play. Shake my hips and whip my hair, it's a new day. Magic will blow, my heart yells, let's go transform and fly away. We will dance through the danger until the world is saved. Can't stop me now cause I'm Shantae.
So before we actually get into what I believe makes Shantae such a great character and a great gaming icon, I think it's important to talk about the history of the character. You see kids, when a daddy human and a mommy genie and a coconut love a Mai Tai very much, Shantae's creation is credited towards two people, Matt and Aaron Bozen. So who are these two? Well, Matt apparently started his life doing character sketches at Six Flags, a noble pursuit if I've ever seen one.
Okay, Tim, who's your favorite sports star?
Reggie Jackson.
Okay, well, I'm gonna draw him pooping on your chest. What number is he?
He would then go on to attend the University of Northwestern St. Paul's to learn and get a degree in graphic design before moving to the California Institute of Arts to learn character animation. And apparently he received a grant from Walt Disney Studios to make short animations. Neat. After graduation, he became one of the founding members of WayForward Studios, an up-and-coming gaming studio. From there, he started life as a lowly vector artist making vector art for Super Nintendo games that they made. But what about Aaron Bozen? Well, Aaron Bozen actually started her life as Aaron Bell. Her story actually starts right at the California Institute of Arts, where she went to become an animator, and that's when she met her future husband Matt Bozen. Some layout artwork for about 10 episodes of Futurama, as well as a crap ton of video games. But he's probably most famous for being one of the people who created Shantae, which, yeah, let's get to that. Aaron actually got the inspiration for Shantae when she had a summer trip to a camp where she was a counselor, and once she was there, I couldn't make this up even if I tried, she actually met a camper named Shantae, and apparently got inspired to create a hero based off her name. Makes me wonder how many jokes she actually gets because her name's the same as the character. At the very least, I hope she's getting royalties. In any case, Aaron got to work on creating ideas for this character, such as the ability that she could transform into animals and maybe even control them using her dancing. This would later become the dancing magic. Matt loved the idea and instantly got to work helping her fine-tune the mythology as well as the character itself. The only other thing of note I found that made me laugh a lot was apparently Shantae's hair whip. Apparently it was inspired by Aaron accidentally whipping her husband with her own hair on repeated occasions by accident. You can't make this up, people. And yes, Matt has changed his stance and said it was already in the sketches, but the hell with that, the whipping hair is funnier, so I'm going with that. So yeah, they got to work making the first game in the series. Matt has said on several occasions that the biggest influences in creating Shantae, specifically the art style, were animes like Ranma 1/2 and Nadia's Secret of the Blue Water. And of course, Aladdin. Low-key, now I kinda wanna see a version of Friend Like Me with Shantae, or possibly Shantae and the Genie. As for gameplay, they were obviously inspired by games like Mega Man and Castlevania, and yeah, that's pretty apparent in the gameplay, especially considering it's considered a Metroidvania. With everything in place, game development officially started, but real talk, before we continue, I wanna give a big shout out to the Shantae fandom wiki. All the information I just said, as well as any future information I got from this, and it's honest to God been a godsend. So I wanna give them a quick shout out right here before I continue. I'll leave a link down below as there's a lot more information I couldn't share here that's pretty interesting, so go check them out. Anyway, back to the history lesson. Game development officially started in the second half of 1996, and believe it or not, it was not actually supposed to be designed for the Game Boy Advance. It was actually supposed to be for either the N64 or the SNES, or the TurboGrafx 16. I would kill to be in the alternate reality with a TurboGrafx 16 of all systems at Shantae. But eventually, it was settled that it would be released for the Game Boy Color. I don't know why, considering it's already a system that was kinda dying, but from what I understand, it was apparently chosen because it required a much smaller party to work on, which, fair enough. But then came the hard part, finding a publisher, which, considering it was an IP, made it pretty difficult. Plus, from what I understand, the art style needed a special cartridge, so that cost extra. But they finally found one in Capcom of all companies. But then, in June 2nd of 2002, the game was finally released, and while it did considerably well critically, financially it was a big disappointment. However, thankfully it was eventually re-released on the 3DS Virtual Console. That's how I recommend doing it, because let's make something clear, you are not buying a physical copy of this game. I repeat, do not buy a physical copy of this game. They cost upwards of $300. But yeah, it was kind of a financial failure, and I think that's a big reason why it took so long for the next game to come out. Because the next Shantae game didn't come out until 2010. That's a nearly 8-year gap. Thankfully, from what I can understand, Risky's Revenge did much better. And believe it or not, it's the next part in this series where I come in. In 2013, WayForward started a Kickstarter to release the next Shantae game, Shantae the Half-Genie Hero. And unfortunately, while I didn't have a job, I couldn't really donate to it, but I did everything I could to spread the word. The Kickstarter was actually a massive success, garnering nearly $1 million. Personally, I would have liked the full VA voice acting tier to be completed, but what you gonna do? But to fill in the gap, since it was getting delayed a lot, they actually teamed up with another company to release the next game in the series, the one that I started with, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. And personally, I love this game. I'd say easily top 20, maybe even top 15 favorite games of all time, not joking. And yeah, from there, it's pretty standard history. Half-Genie Hero got released and got critically acclaimed, and the latest game in the series, Seven Sirens, recently got released not too long ago. That's pretty much it for Shantae's history. That's one heck of a roller coaster if I do say so myself. I just hope the poor girl didn't get sick through it all. So we have a character that started on a game that, while critically acclaimed, financially failed, and now people are clamoring for her to be in Smash Brothers. So again, I propose the question, why is that? There's tons of franchises that people love but are completely forgotten. So why is Shantae one of the games that could have just as easily fallen to the wayside and never come back? What makes Shantae so special? Well, I have a couple theories and opinions, so here's what I think are the cases why. Number 1, her side characters. If there's one thing you can't argue about the Shantae game's characters, is that they have a lot of personality, and Shantae has this down pat, as I honestly believe Shantae is one of the best character galleries I've ever seen. The Risky being a fun and amazing antagonist with her tatas hanging out, and of course, my zombie waifu Roddy Tops. Yes, I'd have sex with a zombie, don't at me. You look at those hips and tell me you wouldn't do the same. All these characters have interesting personalities and add a new layer to the world. Heck, each character looks like they could fill in their own game series. I know this because of the Friends Forever DLC. You can see how each character plays, and they all play pretty well. Heck, even with Risky in Risky mode in Half-Genie Hero. Though speaking of Risky, she's an amazing antagonist for the series. She's feisty and mean, yet just as energetic as the rest of the cast. But there's just enough there that you would be completely okay with her and Shantae teaming up. Interpret that however you want, people. Heck, I haven't even mentioned all the other Half-Genies in Seven Sirens or any of the other characters. But of course, we can't forget easily the best character. You know him, the myth and the legend, Squid Baron. No, of course not, I'm talking about Shantae. Number 2, the Half-Genie Hero. Even if the other characters don't interest you, Shantae herself has an incredible personality. Some might argue it's much like Sonic in that it's probably her most defining feature, well, that and the gameplay itself. Despite barely being voiced at all, there's honestly so much personality in just the vector art alone. Be it the sprite art or the fully vectorized characters, there's honestly so much personality and character in these arts. Be it the super thickness of Pirate's Curse, or even the Saturday morning cartoon of Risky's Revenge, or the ones from Half-Genie Hero being my personal favorite. Though Seven Sirens redesign is also pretty good too, I am noticing though as Shantae loses her chest, her hips get wider. Talk about weight distribution. Anyway, Shantae always comes off as a fun-loving girl. She's the kind of woman you would love to have as your hero, but also would like to hang out at the beach or even a sleepover. I always like to imagine she would make an amazing wife. But to me, what really shows off her personality, besides the vector art, is her dancing animations. Shantae's dancing, from what I can see in research, and by research I mean I watch a Gaji Goomba video, was heavily inspired by Turkey, specifically Oriental dance. It is a very flashy and energetic dance with lots of revealing clothing. and Shantae has that down to a T. Even in the sprite art, this is still very apparent. Look at all the hip swaying and the very flirty, energetic movement here. No matter what the game's been, this has always been a constant. Even in the later games, this style of dance has always been kept. If you don't believe me, just look at the dances I'm putting on screen. There's so much personality in her hip shakes and arm movements alone. It's always been flirty, energetic, and happy, just like her dancing style and just like Shantae herself. Okay, maybe not necessarily the flirty part, but you do get my point. And all this goes for the dancing outfits as well. You can learn more about Shantae just from her dancing than you ever could from her voice, or the cutscenes, or even the gameplay for that matter. But speaking of the gameplay, number 3, the gameplay. Obvious transition is obvious. But yeah, from the very beginning, it has been said one constant thing throughout all of them, and that is the Metroidvania style gameplay that's always been tons of fun with the dancing mechanic. I love Metroidvania style games, even the ones that aren't handled the best, but the dancing mechanic actually adds a new level to all the exploring. Having to add a level of dexterity in the early games especially, which thankfully has been refined and reformed over the later games. But the creativeness has always been kept constant. Whenever you have to transform into a newer character to advance, like with the monkey, or even in Pirate's Quest where they switched up the dancing mechanics with the pirate weapons, they don't feel like a complete change, they feel like an extension of Shantae. Not to mention it makes it even more heroic when she actually does get her genie powers back. Oh, spoilers about 5 seconds ago. But as much as I love the pirate equipment, I do love the animal forms as well. They're not as practical, but they are far more creative. Like ones for progress like the monkey and mermaid form, to ones that are just fun to use like the spider and harpy form, and some are just goofy like the vase. Yeah, this serves no actual purpose, but I don't care, it's funny. It really just adds stuff that makes it more than just a generic Metroidvania, plus they're just cute.
Here, look at the monkey. Look at the silly monkey.
Number 4. Brevity and quality. Usually when a game does pretty well, the developers try to get sequel after sequel out while the iron is hot. Crash is an example of this being done fairly well, as there was a game released one after the other year after year, but all 3 of those games are amazing. Every game after that though, not so much, and they kept the sequel train going as long as they could. Or heck, just look at the Final Fantasy games and how many ups and downs they've been throughout its many years. Meanwhile, Shantae has been around for years, and yet has only had 5 games, and they're all of very good quality. Yeah, some are not as good as others, like Risky Revenge feels unfinished, and Seven Sirens feels weird, but they're not bad. I would definitely not call them bad. Honestly, in my opinion, the first Shantae game is probably the worst, and it's only the worst by default. And you know what? That's a good thing. It means the games are getting better. As they say, brevity is the soul of wit. A rushed game is forever bad. Some third gaming words of wisdom. Moving on to finally number 5, short and sweet. I want you to think of a typical length of a game. How long do you expect a modern game to be? I'm sure a lot of you will give me varying answers like 30 hours, 50 hours, maybe even 100 hours. And if you did say 100 hours, I feel so sorry that The Witcher 3 has claimed you. But how long is the average Shantae game, give or take? Well, about 10 hours for most of the games. Crazy short, right? Well, that doesn't really matter, honestly. They may be short, but they are still amazing. Their shortness is what makes them so good. I know that sounds crazy, in an era of games need to be hundreds of hours long to be worth the asking price, but you don't really need any of those things. Yes, the games are short, but they are fun to play for hundreds of different ways. You can speedrun them, no item run, 100% speedrun, 100% normal run. Hell, I'm not even counting the New Game Plus, or even the bonus modes in Half-Genie Hero. Just because a game is short does not mean it is bad. If anything, it just makes it even more fun. They can be one and done, or play them more than once. Heck, I bought Pirate's Quest on the Wii U, and I still have it and still play it on occasion here and there after beating it. They're also a fairly short commitment, and most of them besides Seven Sirens are fairly on the cheap side, so you can really get them out of the way fast if you don't have a lot of time to commit to them. And in the spirit of keeping things short, I'm gonna wrap things up here. Overall, I can honestly not recommend Shantae enough. Now obviously I could go on, there's many more reasons I could give why I believe the franchise is still going and why I personally love them, but these are just some of the major ones, and honestly they're not even in order. I mean, if it was in order, I would put Shantae at number 1. I honestly believe she's the main reason why people love these games. And I honestly don't blame them. There's a reason why I put Shantae in my top 10 sexiest creatures list, and if I ever make a top 10 waifus list, you can expect her to be on the list. If you haven't bought any of the games yet, get them. They are short, fun, and addicting, and if you want a jumping off point, I'd recommend Half-Genie Hero. While I personally really like Risky's Revenge, I can admit that Half-Genie Hero is the better crafted game overall. That being said, get the Ultimate Edition, then give the rest of the series a try. But that's all I gotta say, everyone, so thank you all so much for watching. And while the credits roll, I want to give 2 quick shoutouts. First of all, a big thank you to Kenisu-of-Dragons for doing this amazing art piece for the title card. If you like it a lot, then I got some great news for you. It'll be available as merchandise over on Redbubble. However, you can also get it in swimsuit form in addition to the Furry Rebel swimsuit over on my Streamlabs merch page. They'll be available in both one piece and bikini form. Hurry up though, because the swimsuits will only be available until the end of July. After that, they're gone. The links will be in the description description down below, so check them out. And speaking of Streamlabs though, I am also streaming all the Shantae games over on Twitch. So if you want to join the fun, follow me on twitch.tv/TheWatchersGaming and go give it a follow. I usually try to stream every Friday and Saturday and every other Tuesday, but I am trying to stream every Thursday as well now. But that's all I gotta say, so thank you so much for watching and sticking throughout the credits. So all that standard stuff, be sure to hit the like button so it pushes it through the algorithm and gets this video more well known, and be sure to subscribe if you like my content and hit the bell icon so you're notified when I upload next. I am the Watchful One saying keep on watching. I'll see you guys next time.